Alrighty, boys and girls and everyone else. Hopefully this is streaming now. Let's see. Let me refresh and see if we have sight and sound. Excellent. Thank you. Thank you so much for letting me know that. The computer has not been cooperating. I'm coming off the back of a rather frustrating day, to be honest. But I'm so dedicated to making sure that 2025 has as many streams as 2024. And yeah, I'm in the office by myself today. I am Ben from Second Dynasty. We make 3D printable spaceships, and we are working on some of our Expanse style. That is to say, we use a design language that evokes the feeling of something belonging to, say, a universe like the Expanse ships. And I'm going to show off some of the work in progress for our prints. I'm not sure how much I have shown yet, so let's see. Before I get into all of the nitty-gritty and the details, I just want to give a shout out and hello to the members in our chat. So hello to Tamsin, Derivative Content, Solo Spirit, Doug is here, Brian's here, Jaron is here, Will Richards is here, and of course Shergol is here. And I'm sure there's some other people as well who are a little bit more chat shy. Perhaps you're at work, listening to something in a break, or like me, you can have something going on in the background whilst you work, which is the case. Now, there has been a lot of progress since last week. Please let me know in the chat if I showed you guys the final results of the Nidhogg. And there were some questions as well from, I forgot to turn off I don't think it'll be an issue though. Dropbox seems to have crashed anyway. So I've been dealing with crashes all day, wrestling with this Maya scene because it just has been so frustratingly slow. Let me try and demonstrate a part of the issue real quick. So if I just delete this face and I want to create a new bridge here, you can't really tell anymore, but there used to be a lag of around 2 seconds between that operation completing and finishing, and it seems like I have fixed the bug. I've also cleansed this scene, and you'll be able to see in the background here if it ever loads up, because this is one of the things that sadly has been an issue, that the UI is taking a little while to load. This is the version I had, Sleipnir 2024, 2.6 gig, and I have progressively gotten that down to 1.35 by deleting a lot. Maya is node based, and given the fact that this scene is from 2020 when I was designing Sleipnir, there's a lot of nodes left over that maybe are not in use anymore, and objects that may have had shaders that belong to, say, Redshift, or you know, there's a couple of strange control panels here that I don't have normally on some of my scenes. It's like carryover. And hey Kathy, hey Sam. And there has been some frustrating carryover from version to version. Maya is very buggy. I'm sure you've heard me complain about it a gazillion times by now if you've been following what we're doing. But in general, this is one of those things. Let me just close that off, and we'll close that off, and it looks like, yeah, Dropbox is dead. So this is the shit we're going to focus on today. I'll go over the details now, but basically, which is a word I use often, the Nidhogg is completely finished. And by the way, Nidhogg is just like an anglicized version of pronunciation. I'm just using how it would sound in Australian English. In Swedish it would be Nidhogg. And it would probably sound more like Nidhogg in like earlier Scandinavian languages. Even all of that stuff is a bit confusing because there was such a thing as Old West Norse and Old East Norse, so Swedish and Norwegian/Danish was not exactly the same, and in fact there's quite a bit of difference in the spelling on runestones, for example, between several different parts. I actually live in one of the areas which has the most amount of runestones that are left over, and also the runic script used as the younger Futhark, which anyway, anglicized Norse, basically, deferring to the Swedish where possible. But, you know, whenever we use the extra letters we have in Swedish, which is or, which are or and are variants of a, one with like a little zero on the top of it. Has the two little dots, and then is O with two dots on top of it. So and actually Y is also a vowel in Swedish as opposed to a consonant as it is in English. Anyway, Nidhogg in Southwest Virginia. In any case, it's never going to sound right to everyone. And I'm not that worried about it in particular. There's also a gazillion different ways to spell it. So my point is, I've been wrestling with Maya. It's actually come along really well, but I don't think I have shown you guys yet the progress. Let me just off screen here. Oh, that's right. I really need to restart this computer. So this might not work so well. Let me see. If I go into my photos and I look in my work photos, oh, this might work. Let me get the browser up and see if this will refresh or not. And we can go through these. So we can sort of see the story so far. These should all be synced, so technically if I just open this up, and we can make this a bit bigger, why not? We can look at the progress. So, to be clear, the entire exterior of the ship is test printed. The interior isn't fully kitted out yet because when you're coming to a campaign and you need material to show what's going in on the ship, everything's not going to be ready in time. And the other thing to consider too is, like, I know it's not ideal, but because of the long production times we have for these ships, they're not 100% finished when we get to the campaign stage, because we still have a whole other month to work on, and then actually about 6 weeks before we start releasing parts. So there's not really room in our budget to wait and have a bunch of great promotional material, because we just never get the breathing space. Our costs are too great, our monthly burn rate and whatnot. So this is kind of like what we have to do, and fortunately we already have Sleipnir completed and can use that to visualize how things are going to look. Anyway, these are photos, and you can see the prints on the P1P and P1 Mini are coming out really great. The engines here, aside from this flat panel, I'm not sure if I'll leave it that way or if we'll add some detail, but it is on the bottom of the ship. It's a place you don't really see. We've got some really great new detail coming through there. You can kind of see where I switch filaments midway through there, and it's gradually building. I tested it with the new PDC. Mind you, that thing is still prototype as well, so it needs some additional detail on the side there. I might increase the spacing on the ladder wells as well, or I guess they're not ladder wells, just ladder rungs. A little bit more of a close-up, another close-up. We might have some video coming up soon. So not a bad print job for all of this, and John is going to be doing some physical prints, so there's that option on the campaign. We just don't know exactly how we're going to present it right now. His idea is you'll be able to buy any size of these ships, so any one of the 5 ships. Of course, it will be quite costly if you want to do that, and the most expensive printer, it'll almost be to the point where, you know, it might be worth considering getting your own printer, or just under that price, the quality you get. But the print quality will be excellent. So let's continue on. So this was all done last week, and I didn't quite get, like, I worked a lot in the last week, like 7 days last week, going in throughout the weekend to get this from basically this stage on Friday, I think it was, to, whoa, here we go. Let's see, that was on the 31st. So that was last Friday, right? Or last Thursday. That's where I had this at. It looks completely different in motion video. Like, it's gives you a whole different perspective on things. So I'm really going to be pushing like the Aesir fleet. Good Elven there. And of course that was our old Naughty prototype. And let's see. I guess I had a video in here as well of the new heavy starfighter, the Theta, that we put out this month, and you can also see the Traveller aircraft for the Zidani in the foreground there. Yes, I filled John's desk with litter. That's correct. I didn't want to make you feel like you actually have a full place here, John. This place only ever gets clean when you're here. It's not entirely true. Lisa Lot's also a neat freak, but... Oh. Alright. So again, this is towards the end of last week. And then I think we're going to get to... You can kind of see putting the top on here. These don't look like they're fully synced. Let me just double check. Yeah. Oh, that's right. Dropbox. Okay, let me switch to my close-up camera, and you can put up with my face for a little while, so I can restart Dropbox in the background. So, get Task Manager up. Dropbox is suspended for some reason. There we go. Let's delete that. And I will restart the service. I guess we'll do it this way. I can show you guys some of the progress I've made too. Oh, why did it go to the... Went to the website instead of opening the actual app. Yeah, I can show you guys the progress on Valkyria. So I've handed this one off to Alban since he's done with the 5th Frontier War campaign vehicles. The rest will all be sculpts. There are a few outstanding ones, but we're getting close. So this would be the airlock deck here that he's working on, and then there'll be another 2 decks above that. The idea being that this will be a similar size to the Knight from the Expanse, if you're familiar with it. And then we have deck 7, 8, and 9 of the Ratatosk test printed so far. So John has shown me a way where we wouldn't have to integrate these tiles, which would let you choose the size that you want. So we'll probably go with that method instead of the insanity I was showing just now. Let's see if Dropbox is going to fully sync this. Let's see, let's go to make available offline. And then we can switch back to our pictures, which now looks good. Let me switch the camera back. There you go. And I want to get my chat back up with you guys. All right, so right, let's continue. So you can kind of see we've got the top on here. This was a pain in the butt to do. It's a lot more work than I thought because I had to figure out the interior. whilst doing this, and I had to reprint a number of these several times. The sort of angled antenna there are based off the Typhon antenna, or antennae. At this time I didn't have this PDC printed out, so I just nicked it off the Notanante. And there I had filmed it all and then realized I was missing the torpedo hatch for one of the tubes. So the final result is this bad boy, or girl, I suppose. And you don't really get the full effect if you don't sort of like, there we go, if you sort of flip it over, flip and burn. Whoops. Back. Cancel. Alright. Anyway. A few more shots. A lot more shots, actually, there's going to be. Locked by another app. There we have the to scale with Alban. I'm a little frustrated. It's 96 centimeters high. So, I couldn't have just gone for a full meter, apparently. A few more shots of Alban. And the video. It kind of has a Spaceball 1 feel to it. Going up the side like that. And another one. And there you can see all the hatches are finally in place. From the top. This is without any cleanup as well, so I need to go over some of it with a lighter and just get rid of some of those stringing elements. But yeah, I'm very proud of the work, and it's amazing what just an extra couple of I was going to say what an extra couple of inches will do in difference. But what I mean by that is the interior plate area is just slightly larger than the Sleipnir. But it makes all the difference. And then you have additional levels, of course. So I think I put that one up on Instagram. It's a thing of beauty. Sorry, I'm a bit hypnotized by it at the moment. The off-color filament does irritate me a little bit, but it looks pretty good, I think. I feel like we might have... No, we haven't looped over yet. There we go. This is the last one. Alrighty. So that is this ship here. Completely. Let me have a look at the chat now, because you guys have been saying stuff a lot. So, hey Clive, let's see. Very familiar with the frustrations of working with Autodesk software. Yeah. Windows was a mistake. Okay. Let's see. So we need to talk about our feelings. My feelings are leaking out of me via mucus. Okay. Yeah, so I hope you're feeling better, John. There's way too much information here. That panel needs detail, sir. The texture plate is not grand. Limited print run, yeah. So it won't be like accepting a gazillion orders. We might have like a limit on the number that can be purchased. We're not entirely 100% on exactly how we should present things, and John and I most argue about prices and things like that. So, where is the overly exposed Benjamin? Yeah, that's a good question. Let's see. I think you're looking good, sir. You've lost mass. I don't think I have. In fact, I know I haven't. SS Benjamin, it's 97 centimeters. 3 centimeters of flame effects needed. We break for no one. That could imagine that if that was like an extension on the bottom. Alright. What a big long gun. Stunning, thank you. I shared with Alban after the fact how to tell the two colour filaments apart, as they are two greys you can get and have the same name, but the tape gives it away. Right. Well, maybe the big difference is also that we got the versions that were already on rolls, mostly because I thought it wasn't worth saving the money for the... I just want it to work. And it's only, like, reduces a couple of steps. Anyway, you other guys probably don't know what I'm talking about, so I will move on. So, let's break down... this. I'm quite still very chuffed that I managed to get this thing. It is running a lot smoother than it was. But I managed to get this thing down to just 1.3 gig as opposed to 2.6, and at the beginning of the week it was 4.6 gig. So lots and lots of crap in there. I might have accidentally deleted something, which is why I've iterated into a new file name, the Aesir fleet, as opposed to the Sleipnir 2024 update. And yeah, let's close off some of these and look at what we've got so far for Ratatosk. So it does use the same base as the Nidhogg does. So these first two decks are actually identical, and I've reprinted them, and you can kind of see we're going to be going for a particular look here with an open sort of engineering bay and maybe a ladder well down. Now, one of the things that has frustrated me with the Naughty series, let me get down, Ratatosk is also not the best example here. Where are the ladder wells? Down here. So, whilst I love the look of these ladder wells, whoops, let's grab that and that. That should give us the effect we need. They do take up so much space in the ship. So you've got like a 4x2 square section that this is taking up. And like it does have a cargo lift in it. And it makes sense to have something like that. But Ratatosk is going to have an alternative version. And a part of the reasoning behind this is I'm trying to think about the roles for the ship. So Nidhogg in itself is actually a torpedo destroyer. So it has tons of torpedoes. It is a military warship. Whereas Ratatosk, I guess, is kind of like the sort of Martian patrol ship type role. Obviously not Martian, but I mean like if you were watching The Expanse, you know, the kind of interdiction roles, policing, that sort of thing. So I'm not entirely sure which order we're going to have, like with crew quarters and that sort of thing. Our airlock deck is up here. And you can already notice some differentiations now between the two ships, even if it's not immediately apparent. We've got the airlock here. It's quite low on both ships. And the notable difference here is this has a cargo airlock, whilst the Ratatosk does not. And I still kept quite a large suit locker, so there's lockers for 8 armors in there, because the idea is that this would be a ship that you would have 2 squads of Marines on to, you know, commit to boarding actions. The deck above is where we start to see the beginning of the torpedo sort of cartridge, I guess, and also the 2 side PDCs, so it's not as well armed as other ships, but still can defend itself. And you'll notice here this weird door to nowhere. Now this is intentional, Because the idea is that this class of ship has been designed with the good old multi-function role, multi-role functionality, that modularity that, you know, the military is always saying is a great idea and then gets wrong every single time. So the next level up, we've got this area sealed again, but the idea is that these sort of sections will be removed for a version of the ship which has extra capacity. You can kind of see here too, I don't know why that shader's mucked up. Let me just see if this will behave, if I can get it to go back to, no, it doesn't want to go to the default. Let me reconstruct that then. There we go. Drives me nuts. Just some of the bugginess with Maya. Like, I told it to change shaders. It didn't. Deck 3, again we've got an upper airlock door there to this sort of locked off section, and you can kind of see there I haven't added back in some of the tiles. This was because the part I was converting actually had the mounting for, it's quite similar to this, so it had the mounting behind it for the thinner sort of RCS unit. Let's see, we could go there, there, and there. That would be safe. And we'll just do a couple of tiny extrusions, I mean to say. So just choosing different sections and tiles. Whoa, 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 what is going on there actually? This pattern isn't quite working out. See how it's not matching? It matches over there, but what's going on there? So let's have the level above back, please. Okay, so the problem is that those are out of whack. So I'm just going to have to rebuild all of these. This is like a part of the tedium with these tiles, and like they don't need to be complicated, but they end up looking really good on the physical model, even if it's just simple extrusions. Really, it sort of plays to the strengths of the slicer. So yeah, okay, you can almost actually see exactly how this should have worked. So let's extrude again. And we'll do the opposite side. Can also get away with these ones. Oh, what just happened? See how those didn't join together? So that's an indication that there's something wrong with the mesh. Oh, see how there's extrusions already there? That's the problem. So I need to get rid of these. There we go, and that should put it back to an even playing field. So let's reselect those. And hopefully, now if we try it again, it should look correct. Yeah, it did. Let's see, so we want that one, that one. 0.3. Oh, same issue. I can see the chat going off in the corner of my eye. I'll check it in just a sec. think that should be the last of it. The amount of times I've done this, okay, that looks now like it's, you know, the pattern looks like the sort of brick tiles. Let's see. Oh, it's mostly John just saying stuff. Please turn on normals colors. It's hard to read like this. I don't know what you mean by normals colors, John. I don't think it's a function of Maya. You've shown me it. Like, the best I could do is maybe bump up the gamma a little bit. And, oh, I don't have my screen space ambient occlusion on too. That should help. I had that off before for testing. So this should be popping a lot more than it was. Alright, looking better now. So you guys should be able to see that things are matching again. I don't like this gap. What is this gap? Is there actually a gap, or is it just a drawing function? It always makes me worry that the part's not actually bang on. And it doesn't look like it is. Oh, I remember this part being an issue actually. So let's just have a quick look. It looks like it's on the grid. If it is off, it's off by, you can see here though, see how those don't align? That's a bit worrying. Yeah, here's the issue. Alright. So it's a nasty issue to try and fix. And in some cases, you're better off just doing a... This is going to look okay. It's like in a top-down orientation anyway. And we know that we want this lock to there. So I imagine this might have been one of the culprits for why it was looking incorrect. And there's quite a good possibility that it's doing the same thing over here. It isn't. You can see it's actually normal, normal, but this is not aligned, so I don't know what's going on. This is just my nightmare, to be honest. I want it to be over. I've reached the stage where I'm not having fun anymore, which is, you know, you start a new ship, you feel inspired, and then it just becomes tedious. See how that's not quite aligned? The important thing is it's aligned on this grid here. And then it's a question of, so how many issues do we, like in the physical print, mind you, you're never going to notice this. This is such a minor thing. But I know it's there. That's what drives me nuts. This is what I'll lose sleep over. Although I've been sleeping well lately, thanks to a little treat I have from over the pond. Let's see. Is this... It's just off by a tiny bit. It's so frustrating. And I feel like I fixed this problem, and it could just be a case if I fixed it before duplicating... Oh, sorry, after duplicating. See, even that too there. Whoops. I keep pressing S, which actually creates a frame animation. So I want to avoid that. So now, if I'm looking at that gap, which was here, there shouldn't be a line anymore. Oh, there is. Does that mean that this one has issues? It doesn't look like it. So on this side though, no gap. But you can see this line is thick. So is it off, is the question. Probably not enough to be worth all this mucking about. so I'm just going to leave it rather than focusing on it. Let's see. Let's see. If you aren't going to get refills, it makes more sense to just buy your old filament provider. I think do your own cost comparisons, of course, like this. But John, honestly, it's one of those things where I'm only prototyping, mate. I really don't give a hoot if it's 1,000 crowns or 1,100 crowns, because I'm only buying those 10 rolls, not 100. For me, I'd rather pay the extra 100 for convenience. Brian says here, it happens with every project. Gets to a point where it's just a grind until it's done. Yeah, we're kind of at that point. So yeah, I wanted to actually show off what's going on here. So these are the ladder wells. This is just a stand-in, and I want to make it. I've got some that fit more properly higher up. But the idea with this is, and I'll just quickly show off the rest of it, that we have this module. So this was the original design, and it kind of has an extra area to it. Now this won't be. I have ideas for this module. Somewhere it's just additional cargo space, additional living space. Say you want an extra squad of Marines on this thing. You're getting rid of some of the functionality. So for example, the reasoning behind these thrusters here on the underside is that it is braking thrusters for entry into a planet. Whereas the version with what I call the pouch is more about adding additional space into this ship with a sort of detachable module which could have different purposes. And you can see this from the tiles, they don't all match up properly, like the pattern loops here. It's mostly just for a concept, right? This would be stretch goal territory. But I did get quite far about making some cool looking Nernies, and I do like the shape of it. And what I'm kind of thinking is that there's a version of this where it's extra cargo room, just so that missing cargo bay we don't have. Well, this is the cargo module. Or it is extra crew quarters because you want 4 squads of Marines instead of 2. Or and this is an idea. I don't know if we'll do it this month because I think between Alban and myself, we've got a tremendous amount of work getting this campaign ready to go. By the way, links in the description below. And whilst you're checking them out, why not give us a like or a subscribe if you want to be notified of the next time we're putting something live up. And if the Expanse style ship is not your cup of tea, well, in a couple of months we should be working on Persephone, which will be an alien style Nostromo like ship. We're using the design language so it feels like it'll fit in. So this kind of ship, for example, might be a TL8 or 9 traveler ship. It could fit into, you can drag and drop it into the Expanse if you play the Expanse RPG. It's in the same scale as the Expanse RPG miniatures. Now, we always have worked in that scale, so the cart did not come before the horse in that case. We had our first ship out in 2020, the Sleipnir, that was Expanse style, and I do wonder if perhaps the good folks over at the Expanse RPG consider 28mm in part because of that. I don't know. No idea if they've heard of us or not. Obviously, we don't want to tread on any toes either. Papsicles is doing the missing poses for the crew, so maybe I can share a pic. No, I don't have Discord on. It must have crashed too. Alright, I could have shown those off. I won't though, for privacy reasons. I don't want you guys seeing. Actually, what I could do is switch to the close-up camera again. So let me just do that and put Discord on. Unless it's crashed. And then maybe I can share a picture or two. Chew. Let's see. Oh, John sent a ton of messages. I will have to read them later. Couldn't be pertinent. Yeah, I won't mention that on stream, but that made me laugh, John. So let's open this in a browser and get you guys a window there. So we initially had 5 crew for, let me switch back. There we go. We initially had 5 crew for the Sleipnir, which would be this guy, this guy, this guy, this gal, and this gal. So, who are the other 2 people? Well, one is Kaylee, who is an engineer. You might know her, especially from pushing a cart. We have that pose that we put up on the tribes. The other one is Jenna Lynn, I think Pepsicle's named her. She's like a stowaway. And unlike our Traveller miniatures, where we had 5 poses each, action, idle, 0G, laying down and seated, we didn't have the laying down version. So I know Papsicles is so busy, but I said, hey, could you possibly do these laying down poses? And he sent this back very quickly, very easy to work with. So we'll be adding those, and I want to add another 2 crew members, actually, for this campaign. And I've got some fairly solid ideas about what that's going to be. Let me just double check that everything's working. Haven't seen it here yet, but basically there'll be a new pack with an additional 20 miniatures. That'll be an add-on during the campaign. And then I want to get back into our scene here. So let's see, what are people saying? Doug Jeffrey says, let's extrude again like we did last summer. I must have missed that one. That was a good one. Shergel says the transition from feature complete to issue count burn down is tough, but the motivation is public release. Even betas are motivators because creators want to see people enjoying what they've made. Yeah. And also with ships this complex, it is a sad fact that we can't. We obviously test print things, and in some slices you can have parts and they'll have no issue printing that part whatsoever, and then all of a sudden you get another slicer and it just can't process the model. So there is a lot of back and forth, especially with these complicated models, and there's no doubt going to be a headache for all of us at one point or another. But it will be nice having a more definitive version of this. John says, they totally heard from you. They sent us this friendly docket labels. You've been served. I trust that's about the Expanse RPG. I sent those messages before the stream. Just to clarify, I don't message him during stream. Huh? Oh, right. You're clarifying to the chat as not to disturb me. Yeah, it'll be unseemly for you to... God, we're really not doing that much work today. So that's the pouching. That's what I was planning to work on today. We've got 15 minutes left. I don't know how far we're actually going to get with that. So instead I want to look down at, these ladder wells. Okay, they're not handicap friendly in any way, shape or form. I think you need to have functioning limbs. Although, maybe just 2 if you're on the float, right? So this will be the, we could double these up. This would be our bridge for this ship. Oh, there it is again. Why? It's like just present in every version of the model for no reason. And I could swear, like, I load up Maya at home and it looks different to what it looks like at work. It's just infuriating. So these are sort of a new style with the glowing walls. You can see some supporting clip holes in there where you can attach screens and things. We've yet to actually design those. Oh wow, and it's on every single one. Yes, how wonderful. Oh, I love that. Anyway, and upstairs you'll have the second floor with your like pilot and all that sort of thing. So quite an extensive bridge. The sensors not completely finished. You can kind of see these are just free floating, so we'll probably borrow a little bit more from the Nidhogg variant here, and you can actually see I've left some additional clip holes in place, so you could actually add additional. This isn't actually a part of it at present, but you could add additional antennae, and possibly some additional sensors, or I just wanted there to be some room for expansion. Ladders are not part of an accessible path of travel. No. Which I think is why I kept the lifts in for so long, but at the same time, what I was considering with the Ratatosk is that it might have that lift shaft for a particular part of the ship, and then you get to others which are made a little bit less accessible. So for example, I think this ladder well goes down to about the deck above the airlock. So here I haven't put in anything, but the other issue is, like, if we have our airlock on this side and then you have this module on the opposite side, we can't. This is where the ladder, the lift would normally be. So we can't have that if we're going to have this compatibility with the extra module. So my plan for this session was actually that we were going to do that module. But I don't know that we've gotten that far. But hopefully there should be connectors beneath this thing that you can kind of see here. We've built in the modularity, and you could technically leave this as is, like with these parts off. This is an issue here because I think we do need a proper wall in there. And obviously this would be an issue to leave open, so I do need to kind of think about how it's going to attach, exactly where it's going to attach, change the dimensions, but it would be cool to, for example, take this concept, let's move that back, and make like a tribes version where it's actually a landing craft instead for the future. Although I think March will be some crazy contraption thought up by John. Let's see. Correction, low gravity. You need a wheelchair in space. Wouldn't you still be able to use ladders due to no gravity? Yeah, but not when you're under thrust. That's the issue. Like, because say you are suddenly accelerating at 1 gravity, you're in the same situation you'll be on Earth, and all of a sudden you have a hell of a time getting up and down those ladders. Mind you, if you are in a wheelchair, you probably do have quite a good amount of upper body strength. But yes, alas, this is just, I'm overthinking things is the issue. And obviously, because of the nature of things, you can customize it. The one thing I don't like about Gridforge with this is I've had to build in some tiles to some sections. Again, these are prototypes, so we might, for example, remove these squares here to actually make it as customizable as possible. But you would be left with these awkward angles without being able to replace the tiles. So I don't know, John, if you got any ideas for diagonal tiles. I know you deliberately wanted to stay away from them. But it would mean, for example, you can customize all of these floors, right? But then can't do anything else with the rest of the floor. So yeah, I don't know. Maybe one way to hide that is to have whatever plugs into the walls also kind of hide those floor tiles. You don't have a diagonal tile solution because it requires a very unique shape and rules. Does it though? What's the main issue? I'm curious. I think it's best if partials like diagonals are attached to full tiles only. Yeah, so like you mean it would just be an empty space? You know, that could be one option. And I think what you're talking about is essentially having. Let me just whack this up real quick. I'll duplicate that. delete everything else, and essentially what you would be saying is like, you have some kind of bridge between there, and then this thing is just literally prints out flat like so, down to there, and that plops in, and that's just combined. We should just be able to take these polygons here all the way to there. One the ones in the middle as well, and then we just do an extrusion to the edge there so that they join up. Maybe just to not worry about elephant feet here, we could take this section, whoops, move it up to there, and then extrude that back down, and then just scale it a tiny bit there. So that should compensate for, elephant feet. And this won't go all the way down to the base of the tile. Like, I don't think I've actually got them in there, but you can see where the base is normally. And then that would just be one part that you print out that could then be customized. That's essentially the solution we have at this point in time. Which isn't great, but maybe that is a better solution. Maybe that is a better solution, because yeah, it's going to require more custom parts, but you would be able to change all of the floor. That's the part you need, right? But note too how this is not at the same height. And then there's other optimizations we could probably do so it doesn't use quite as much, although I guess that doesn't use much filament anyway. And then, we'd probably need to change the widths there so it actually conforms. But other than that, that's probably the simplest solution, with a simple bridge in between. Like, I can actually do a quick export here. File, export selection, and this is how I did solve this issue in the sphere. Let's just go into STL and Ratatosk. No, we'll go into Nidhogg there because we've just got an empty thing there. Test angled for .stl, and then I guess we've got Orca Slicer already open here, so let's just create a new project and import in this STL, and we would flip this over like so. Looks like that came through alright, and you slice the plate there and you can see that these would be melded together in that section here, otherwise starting as separate parts, right? And we need that gap to fit in the frame. Obviously too, that means you can't have a clip in between, although you wouldn't need it in this case. So you don't want to do diagonal grids. Yeah, so this is probably the solution we should go with. So it is going to require a little bit of dangling, and I need to make Albin aware of it as well, but I think that's our solution, which not great for my prototype because I've already printed this out with these angled parts. Yay! Anyway, Blasted says, another option though not feasible in this design is to have a thicker hull and the square tile recesses into the hole, leaving only what is needed to showing. I'm not quite following there. A thicker hole and then the square tile recesses into the hole. You still got to get the tile into it though, mate. So you would need a significant gap, and I mean it's all a headache, to be honest. Yeah, I think that's the best solution at present. And then honestly, the frame's going to be quite strong anyway. Maybe we would like have it printing out this whole row it's still going to mean, like, if you want to customize this floor, you're going to need some other options. Although it would be cool also to do a floor that is a bit more expansive. Like, this is just a sort of standard grate that we've used for years. Let's see. Alex says, would it work with a shallow slot in the diagonal wall base into which the diagonal tile could slide into? I think you're overthinking support, guys. Like, this is 28 mil. Aside from the fact that it's going to be squished between the wall and whatnot, we're just assuming a case where, let me just delete this from there, and we would actually have to take out this wedge altogether. Oh, how fortunate. Didn't put a clip hole in the opposite side, but yeah, let's just address this real quick, so that we get rid of the problem entirely. Don't need these, don't need that, or that, or that, or that, or that, just this. And we'll move that over to there. Get rid of these. Like so, and then we just make it fit. And sometimes when we're doing these fittings, it's also good to just add a loop or two now and then. So yeah, you do have to make this work a little bit better, but there's less areas that you need to fix and address. So down there, moves that over there, moves that down there, moves that over there, and then making sure there's nothing else in the design that's an issue. Because often we do have free floating objects, like for example these sections we could technically delete. I did make some walls with a gap underneath so you could actually almost get some lighting behind it, but I don't really want to fiddle with it too much. So you would have the frame here, and it will connect to a frame going across there, and that'll be clipped together. And I think if we built it so that, for example, either, I was about to point at the screen, this and that, yeah, I think it's just going to be more stable than you think. Would it work? Let's see, if you were doing this, I would suggest a tiny leftover bit of wedge would be needed. The wedge would be the height of where the floor tiles are supposed to hit the grid. Oh, okay, so what you're saying is we probably don't even need the full thing. We just need like a, let's say we come in here, and then we lower this to the same height as approximately where this begins. It probably needs a little bit more of a gap. What do you reckon, John? Like 0.1 down? So what you're saying is just come out like a millimeter, and then obviously with it actually conforming, and it would need more of a gap than this actually, so I'm not doing this. Let's see, actually the better way to do this would be select all these, and let's offset it by 0.1, just drag down this bottom line like so. We'll have to get rid of some nasty geometry and do a cleanup later, and then we come out just by like a millimeter or something, right? And then sounds like we have a big toddler in the house. I think it was Hannes there. So we could just, for example, make sure this fits on the grid again by going like so, and then it's safe to put it down to there. Something like that. Off the grid there. I don't love addressing this at this point in time, but at the same time it does feel like this is better to have solved rather than to change tunes like another couple of weeks down the road when so many other iterations have been made. Let's see what John's saying. 0.1 down is good enough for a layer sampling to never go above. Yeah, you got it. Alright, so just like that. So that will rescue our issue there. And you can see there's a little bit of tolerance there. Even though technically the Gridforge already doesn't need that tolerance, it'll be hooking into there. And we would do the same thing over there. But we do need to, because now this might be a bit messy. Wow, this responded so much faster. So we need to recreate these faces though, because now we have that little gap. And then when that's done, I'll basically duplicate it up again, and then I guess I'll be spending a lot of time fixing that, which, yeah, I thought I would have some time off this weekend, but I have been good and decided I'm not allowed to buy Civ 7 until after we launch. So I'm a good boy so far. Alright, let's delete that, and then we'll do the same on the opposite side here, because we also have an angled section there. So if we just delete that, select there, technically we should be able to, oops, that's a better place to mirror it, -1, let's rotate it. Hopefully, if I switch to wireframe mode, this all lines up, which it looks like it does, which is a good indicator that I'm doing the right thing and that this part is correct. Let's see. So we merge, then we merge again. Even that came together. Nice. Yeah, that looks pretty clean, aside from these do not look clean. But we can address that simply by merging these. And then our thick line disappears. And that is our solution. And you would just repeat this. So hopefully that is aligned to the grid. It looks like it. We just slot down another one of these right there. Or we build the floor with a lot of this integrated so that you get even more stability. That's entirely possible. We could potentially do it so that this piece is actually all three of these at once. Actually, that's probably a better way of doing it, now that I think about it. Alright guys, we are 4:05, which means we're about done for today. A lot more work to get done. I'm hoping to get much of the ship printed over the weekend. I am going to come in on occasion to swap out the printers, but at this point in time I do have quite a lot of stuff to do. Civ 7 is not getting a good rating. You saved yourself. Yeah, I heard that. Anyway, let's get this all turned off. Let's get the fancy ships on, and we'll leave it at that. Please do follow the project. We've almost got 500 people following at this point in time, which I don't know if that's a good or a bad thing. It does seem a bit slow. But you know, if we could get that many pledges by the end of things, I'll be extremely happy. Have a happy weekend, everyone, and we will be back next week, 1 week closer to launch, which is February 24th. Stay tuned. Bye, guys.